Today on Commander Replay, Torbran Thane of Red Fell is having everyone over for a barbecue. Find out who gets torched in the flames and who doesn't, next on Commander Replay. I want to thank my awesome Patreon supporters. We have one new Patreon supporter in Sean Beazle. Sean, you are awesome. If you want to help support the channel and vote on which decks I play next, feel free to check out my Patreon at the link below. Welcome back, everyone. Super excited about today's deck. We're playing Torbran Thane of Red Fell. Take a look at this opening hand. We've got 2 lands. If we find a third, we're on Thaumatic Compass, and then after that, we should be able to get into the Solemn Simulacrum. So it's a little risky, but I'm going to keep. I think we can make it work. Now, we have a really healthy amount of board wipes in the deck. We just don't have any in hand, and I'm wondering how many turns we're going to get to draw one against this Edgar Markov. Has me a little bit nervous, but I do like a lot of the stuff in our hand. We've got the Spell Shock, which would be real nasty. We've got these Mana Barbs, be super nasty. We can protect ourselves just a bit once the compass flips over. So, you know, a lot of things I like in the hand. Like I said, a little bit risky with the 2 lands. Hopefully we draw into that 3rd land off the top. Then I'll be feeling pretty good about what we're doing. I believe I went with 36 lands in this deck. I was just trying to get into so many things. It should really be about a 37 land deck. I was trying to test out a bunch of new cards. Some of them ended up getting cut along the way, but I do have some of the Chandras in there. I've got the big new Chandra, like 30 tickets on Magic Online. What is it? Awakened Inferno, I think is the name of it. So got a lot of stuff I'm excited about testing out in this deck. I feel like I haven't played Mono Red in forever. And to that degree, I feel like my Mono Red deck building is like a little under par right now, because I just haven't done it very much, and, you know, there's been a lot of new stuff in the past year. I feel like I just haven't made my way to Mono Red all that much, but yeah, excited to be doing this today. So, Torbran Thane of the Red Fell is 1 red, red, red for a 2/4. If a red source you control would deal damage to an opponent or a permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much damage +2. Pretty sweet. Essentially +2 damage on all of your red stuff to your opponent's things only. So, yeah, I kind of like that. One question I have is if you have a damage doubler, does it go double then +2, or I assume in the order of operations that's how it would go, not the +2 first then the doubling. I don't know exactly how that works, so judge. Anyway, that brings it to our turn 1. We draw into this Outpost Siege, not what we were looking for right there. Let's play the Spine Rock Knoll. Hopefully we don't hit 3 lands right there. Okay, well, that puts us past 3 cards that are not lands, and we'll miss a Makokoro right there. Fluxing on Warhammer's pretty good. But I'm going to go for Chain Reaction under the Spine Rock Knoll because instant speed board wipes can be really good. Someone was telling me that they changed the shuffler algorithm a few weeks back with the release of Eldraine, and I don't know if it's true, but I feel like I believe them because hands have been way more suspect for me the past couple weeks, and like I haven't changed my deck building style at all. I'm like 36, 37 with like I generally run about 14 cards that are either ramp or care about mana production, which is a lot, and I've been having a lot of hands where I don't get past 3 or 4 lands, so there's a chance that something may be afoot in the MTGO shuffler, but yeah, you know, you have to go along for the ride, see what happens. So, Edgar Markov lays down a Legion's Landing, gets their first Vampire into play. It's a 1/1 with lifelink. Ooh, here comes a Training Grounds for the Kenrith. Seems pretty good. A lot of activated abilities on there. There's the 3rd land. Alright, feeling a little bit better about things. So, this will get us into the Solemn Simulacrum, and then we should be off to the races here. Play the Thaumatic Compass. Shadow Alley Denizen. Another black creature enters the battlefield under your control. Target creature gains Intimidate until end of turn. That is something that'll be happening a lot, pretty much every time they cast a vampire. Yeah, so opponent spamming the 1/1s. Someone will need a board wipe. Opponent gonna swing our way? Yep. That's a Skull Clamp for opponent. Yep, that's pretty good. That'll get them into more card draws. So one of the things you run into with an Edgar Markov deck occasionally is that Edgar Markov is 6 mana, and you really do need to draw some cards before you can actually cast your commander. Skull Clamp is a really good card to help them do that, so they're down to 3 cards in hand already, but that'll skyrocket back up once they start feeding the tokens into it. One of the questions I have is if we lay down the Spell Shock, how much of a target does that make us? The Mana Barbs definitely will, so we're going to want to be into a good position before we do that, I think. Here comes the Biomancer's Familiar. Yeah, I've been seeing this guy show up a lot more lately. It does things. Activated abilities of creatures you control cost 2 less to activate. This effect can't reduce the amount of mana cost to less than 1. And next time target creature adapts this turn, it adapts as though it had no counters on it. Okay, so Will and Rowan wants no part of that. Gonna Arcane Denial on the Biomancer's Familiar. Sure, yeah. Down for that. And they'll get to draw at the upkeep. We draw a Chandra Torch of Defiance, so right here I'm just going to activate the Thaumatic Compass, make sure we hit that 4th land. Get ourselves a mountain. And next turn, in all likelihood, will be Mountain into Solemn Simulacrum, and that'll give us a nice little blocker. Oh, that's a Shared Animosity. Okay. Damage is going to start piling out here. A board wipe is needed. Yeah, opponent going to spread the damage around. How nice of them. Yeah, Shared Animosity is a really good card in a tribal deck. That is one that I like a lot. So they all turn into 3/1s. And Adanto flips over, the first fort. Really like these flip lands. I think the art is really good on both sides. And opponent feeds 1 into the Skull Clamp, so as long as they don't get haste, there shouldn't be too much damage next turn. Gives us at least like a turn or two to try to dig our way into a board wipe here, so I guess also if we get like Spell Shock or Mana Barbs in, we could be a couple turns away from this chain reaction, depending on how much damage someone wants to take on all those effects, so yeah. Oh, opponent's going to play a Dockside Extortionist. That's one that I've got in this deck, and one that I'm pretty excited about using. I haven't had a chance to actually cast one yet. Did buy one in paper. It was rather expensive. Opponent gets themselves 4 treasure tokens. Yeah, I think we're looking at Planeswalkers next turn. That being the case, I might go for the Spell Shock. Oh, man, I know, like, Solemn Simulacrum is the thing that we should do, but I might go for the Spell Shock right here because opponent, in all likelihood, is going to cast a couple spells next turn, and we can get their life total moving. I think that'll be pretty good. Looking at this Thaumatic Compass, like we saw right there that we did not naturally draw into our 4th land, and I don't know if we will on our next turn or not, but whenever I look at decks for people, I recommend adding this. A lot of people try to skimp on lands, and, you know, it's that they're like 1 or 2 short, and, you know, it can just make all the difference between a hand that's keepable and a hand that's not getting stuck on lands or not getting stuck on lands. Like, we, in all likelihood, would have gotten stuck on lands right here. We did not draw the 4th land like we wanted to, and you know, we would be falling behind already, and it does such a good job at preventing that, and then becomes useful in the late game when it flips over. That Spires is really good. Like, it really takes a lot for someone to have multiple big threats. Like, if you can eliminate their biggest threat, most of the time they just won't attack you. Like, they just don't have that much gas, so Spires is just a huge deterrent. I mean, you can use it as a political tool if you need to. It's just such a good card. So, you know, it's a card that's easy to overlook, but its ability to prevent you from getting stuck is just so massive, especially when you're talking about mono red, where early in the game you don't have great card draw or great ways to find lands. I play white a lot, so Thaumatic Compass and Gift of Estates really compete with kind of that same slot. And, you know, for me, it's a question of asking, what does the rest of the deck want to be doing? If I'm really trying to protect myself, Pillow Fort, then I'll go for the Compass. Like, if I got some Planeswalkers in there, then I'm probably on the Compass. But if not, if it's more creature-based deck, then I'm probably on Gift of Estates just because it's more mana efficient. But, yeah, just such a good job at preventing you from getting stuck. So, you know, I look at so many decks that are just, you know, they're a land or two short, and they don't have enough ramp in them, and Compass can just fix so many problems. Opponent coughing down more 1/1s. Yep. So we got a Guldra's Assassin. And we've got the token off of Edgar Markov that comes with it. Opponent's going to go on the attack. Shared Animosity will trigger. Only 2/1s this time. And our Solemn Simulacrum big enough to keep them away. That's another card too. Like, Solemn Simulacrum gets run a lot and people know it's good. But the biggest thing that it does, in addition to the ramp, is it's just a deterrent. People don't want to attack into you when you have a Solemn Simulacrum because they don't want to give you the card draw. They're going to lose the damage, their creature will be tapped, so they can't block with it, and it's all about incentive. There's just no incentive to attack you when you have a Solemn Simulacrum out, and it's just, you know, it's just such a big deterrent, and it works so good until opponents either have a massive army or something big with trample or flying or something like that, and that just, you know, it gets you through these mid-turns of the game just so well. We're still at 36, and, you know, I think it's probably going to be a minute before opponent wants to come back our way. With the Solemn Simulacrum in play, just another card. Just, it seems simple, but its implications run pretty deep, and I think the same thing is true with Thaumatic Compass as well. Hey, there's a Rowan Kenrith coming into play. I noticed the -2 in that does 3 damage to each tap creature target player controls. I feel like we might be seeing that one. Opponent will get the partner trigger, sure. Opponent can activate the top, draw a card, Yep, opponent get a -2 the Rowan and blow up some of those vampires, so Vampire Army's slowing down just a bit. I am down for that. Opponent's got a Simic Manipulator in play, by the way. If you're not familiar with this one, it's got Evolve. And you may remove 1 or more +1 counters from it. Gain control of target creature with power less than or equal to the number of counters removed this way. Shows up in +1 counters decks fairly often and is pretty good. Steals your stuff. Is the thing to be worried about. Rage Forger. Oh my. Enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on each shaman you control. Whenever a creature you control attacks with +1/+1 counter on it, have it deal 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. Pretty sweet little card. Doesn't show up all that much, but there are some fun things you can do with it. I think Saffron Olive did a build on it once. But yes, really interesting card. So Simic Manipulator gets +1 counter on it. Looks like this is going to be a Kenrith +1 counter deck. By the way, we should take a look at what our opponents are playing. First up, we have Kamlik 2 playing Edgar Markov, a deck that I'm sure we've all seen many, many times. The super aggressive vampire aggro commander. It's going to look to slam a lot of 1 and 2 drops and then try to pump them up with things like Shared Animosity and Edgar itself and just do a lot of combat damage. Next up, we have Champion of Thune piloting Rowan and Will Kenrith. I think there's turns in this deck. I think we got to be careful of turns now that I'm thinking about it. But yeah, we've seen this deck a few times before, and Will Kenrith's ability to, that +2 is really nasty. Now, the -2 is also pretty good too. Will Kenrith, very strong. Rowan bringing some of the board control with that -3. When they have both in play, they can really do a lot of board control kind of stuff that's pretty nasty. The only issue is they're a bit clunky at both being at 6 mana, so they can be a bit slow, but once they start getting into like turn spells and things, it's a really big issue. And then finally, we have Chaotix 2075 piloting Kenrith, the Returned King, and it looks like they're doing a +1/+1 counter theme right here. So pretty interesting. Anyway, that all brings us back to our turn. We draw a Swiftfoot Boots, not the land we were looking for, so we're going to activate the Compass once again and get ourselves another mountain. Going to be sad when the Compass flips over. I need these lands. We're not drawing lands naturally. And I think it's time for the Spell Shock. Start putting some damage on people, especially like Will and Kenrith. If they're trying to take turns, something like Spell Shock keeps them from going truly infinite. They'd have to deal with it before they could do that. Not saying they can't, but, you know, it just gives them a hurdle that they have to jump over before, you know, they can proceed to do whatever they're trying to do. Opponent Champion of Thune said, other than the Goblin, I'd have taken the Compass over every card I've drawn this game. Yeah, case in point. Compass OP. Yeah, our hand isn't keepable without the Compass. Wow, Edgar Markov's up to 46 off of the Lifelink Vampire. Got some work done there. Opponent going to swing into the Rowan Kenrith. Sure, yeah. Let's get that Rowan Kenrith out of play. Run the cost up on that a little bit. All for it. And Shared Animosity will trigger twice. So Rowan Kenrith back to the command zone. Opponent going to Skull Clamp one of their tokens, and they'll get to draw some cards. Ooh, that's a Twilight Prophet. Twilight Prophet's interesting here. It does damage to everyone else, which is the thing that our deck wants, but it does give them the ability to gain life back, which is the thing that our deck does not want. So it'll be good against the other 2 players, but bad for us trying to kill the Edgar Markov, especially since they're still at 44. They do get hit with 1 Spell Shock trigger in there. Hey, there's a Divining Top. You want to know what card's really good against Divining Top? A Spell Shock. Start getting them life totals moving. Opponent's going to take a look with the Divining Top, yeah. I have some questions about what we're going to do this turn. I'm not entirely sure yet. We've got a lot of 4-drops in hand. Ooh, it's going to be a single target Vandal Blast on the Skull Clamp right there. Opponent wants no part of that. Puts themselves down to 31. So if we go Mana Barbs, then I think everyone just attacks us. Like, they just send everything our way. We're not, like, super well suited for that at this moment. If we get Chandra in, I think that's more subtle. I think opponents will probably try to attack in. This thing does have flying, so Chandra's probably getting attacked in the air, which means we definitely want to be on like a plus mode of Chandra. What if we went, ooh, we could go Chandra Mana Barbs or Chandra Commander. Actually seems pretty good. I think we might go Chandra Commander with the double red mana right there. And if it survives after that, then probably think about shooting the Twilight Prophet. Strength in numbers, you say. Gonna add some counters to things. Kicked it 3 times. Yeah. I guess one thing we got to be careful of now is the Simic Manipulator is in range to start stealing things, and they're going to steal themselves a Twilight Prophet. Sure. This Rage Forger is also a 5/5 now. That seems rather large. And going to send the Rage Forger into the Will and Kenrith opponent. Rage Forger will do 1 damage to target player or planeswalker. Sends it over to the Edgar Markov. Sure. Now, I'd be very happy to draw a land off the top right here. I'm hoping that's a thing that we can finally do. It is not. It is Boots. Okay. What are we doing? Really don't want to miss land drops yet, but I think we're going to go for Chandra and our commander right here. I'm sad about missing the land drop, but I think it's just what we're going to have to do. Spell Shock's going to get us for 2. Ouch. And that is why I have Luxodon Warhammer and sort of War and Peace in the deck, because life gain is a thing that you want when you're burning everything to death, including yourself. So we'll plus Chandra, get ourselves 2 extra red mana. So many modes on this Planeswalker. Love this Planeswalker. Don't play enough decks where I really get to use it. Makes me sad. Though I guess I'm not much of a Planeswalker player in Commander anyway. But yeah, Chandra Torch of Defiance, just so good. Yeah, we're definitely on the stay put plan. Torbran, Thane of Redfell, now into play, and whenever opponents cast a spell, it's going to be doing 4 damage to them. That's going to be pretty sizable. Here comes Edgar Markov. Opponent's still at 39, that life gain. Them life-gaining vampires. It does create the problem of having Edgar Markov in play, though. Let's see what opponent wants to send it. Sending, everything over to Chaotix. Didn't like having their Twilight Prophet stolen. That's going to trigger Edgar Markov. That's going to trigger the Shared Animosity. That's a lot of damage. That is a lot of damage. We need to find that board wipe. Still haven't seen one. Probably going to be on the plus Chandra mode. Look at the top card is probably what we're doing. Or, let's see. Edgar Markov's got... Okay, Edgar Markov's a 5/5. He could also be shooting Edgar Markov. Is the thing we could be thinking about. Here's a Brainstorm. How about that 4 damage off that Brainstorm? Nice. Doesn't look like opponent hit a land right there. Okay, opponent's going to Rite of Replicate on a Solemn Simulacrum, get themselves that land they've been desperately looking for. Puts them down to 23. It's fine with me. Get them life totals moving. Now's probably not a terrible time to try to get that compass flipped over. So if we don't shoot Edgar Markov, things will continue to get bigger and bigger, which could be a problem. But if they don't attack us, they're probably going to just kill everyone else really quickly. Here comes a Bulrak Clan Crusher. Chaotix mentioned, by the way, when he went for one of his lands, I think it was the Volcanic Island, that he should have gone for a Tundra instead. And that's what you call an oops, because he does not have the white mana to cast his commander. So looks like he made a bit of a punt. Oh, hey, opponent just stole our Torbran. Okay, now we're on the board wipe plan. Rage Forger is going to attack. It's going to get that trigger, and it's going to do 2 damage to a target. Okay, looks like we need a board wipe. Now, the other thing, too, is we know that Will and Rowan has extra turns in the deck, and it can be a problem. Like, that's not a thing you want to go super late against. There's a Sunbird's Invocation. Not at all what I'm looking for. Wow. We've not drawn. Like, I just want to draw a land. Had a lot of trouble doing that. We're going to exile the top card with Chandra. See what we get. It's an Embermaw Hellion. It's a 4/5 blocker. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. Wasn't really what my plan was, though. And a blocker may be better than everything else we have going at the moment. Yeah, I think we're just going to cast that, honestly. Means we'll miss another land drop, though, and that's not really what I want to be doing. Maybe we'd not. We need land drops. But we also need blockers. We should sit on the Spine Rock Knoll. That's what we should do. Okay, so we're going to let that go. We're going to activate the Compass, because we cannot draw lands. Get ourselves a mountain. Play ourselves a mountain. We will play some Swiftfoot Boots. Spell Shock will get us. Oh, that's going to be us for 4. Ouch. Ouch, ouch, ouch. Put the boots on the Solemn Simulacrum. And now the plan is just going to be wait for someone to take 7 damage, Spine Rock Knoll, Chain Reaction, and blow everything up. Compass will flip over. It'll be tapped, sadly. Also, that was our source of drawing lands, because we can't draw lands any other way, so that's all a thing. Here comes a Viscera Seer. Oh no, it's only 2 damage, so the red source has to be controlled by the Torbran player. Okay, yep. So, 2 damage to everyone now off the Spell Shock. But man, in one turn, everyone went from like high 30s and 40s down to like 20s. Life total wise, Spell Shock Torbran, not too bad. Oh, that's a Sanctum Seeker. That's going to make life go away. Opponent will get a Scry off of the Path of Ancestry. Yeah. Edgar Markov will create a token. Someone's going to be taking damage. If nothing else, this Chandra Torch of Defiance will also act as a life gain if opponent wants to attack it at all, which they may or may not. Opponent's going to level up their Guldra's Assassin. Yeah. It's now a 2/2. I feel like they really overcosted a lot of those level up cards. Like, just, they're so expensive. Like, you have to sink so much mana into them just even to get, like, the second ability. Ugh. In my mind, the original Kithkin one, I can't even think of the name of it now. Used to use the card all the time, though. Is probably the only really, really good one. Everyone else is just so expensive. There's a couple that are all right, and you can make them work. The white 1/1 that gets double strike isn't terrible. And who's it? Kargan Dragonlord seems alright, but most of them just so expensive. I think this is the blue one that does turns, right? That one's okay too, but you really need a lot of mana. I can't tell what opponent's attacking with all this stuff yet, so once we figure that out, we may be able to lay down this chain reaction, which I think will be a pretty good idea. Alright, so one into the Chandra. One into opponent's face, another into opponent's face. Well, if it's just one into the Chandra, then probably going to throw the Solemn Simulacrum in front of it. Try to keep it alive just a bit longer. Oh, how much life did opponent lose on spell shocks? They cast Viscera Seer and Sanctum Seeker. Okay. Our turn to block. Just the Edgar Markov coming at us. Well, time to cash in the Solemn Simulacrum and try to get some card draw right. Yeah. Looks like opponent's only going to get hit for 5, which isn't the best. So Solemn will die. We'll draw a card. Dockside Extortionist. How many things? That would get us a couple treasures. Still not the land we're looking for. Our commander goes back to the command zone. That's actually good news. Chaotix takes 5 damage. 2 damage short of the 7 we needed them to take. Vampire opponent not happy about their stuff getting stolen. Yeah, we probably should be the target. That spell shock has been doing some work. And no one's really been attacking us, but I don't know. Chandra's days may be numbered right here. Yep, here comes Solemn Simulacrum into the Chandra. Okay. Chandra down to 4 loyalty. Oh, nice. Opponent's going to play a chain reaction of their own. Fantastic. Well, looks like Chandra might survive. Boom. Opponent's going to sacrifice some stuff with the Viscera. Ooh, hey now. Okay, so opponent can sacrifice a bunch of things with the Viscera Seer, reducing the amount of damage that chain reaction will do. And there are 4 other creatures in play. Edgar Markov could actually survive, as well as the Sanctum Seeker, if opponent wants to sacrifice everything except those 2. And if that happens, then Rageforger will also survive. Ooh, alright, alright. Well, opponent sacrificed the Sanctum Seeker. Should have kept that one. I mean, if we lay down Mana Barbs now and no one has anything in play, that's like more or less good game. Oh, never mind. If Edgar sticks around and Sanctum sticks around, that's still going to be a 5th creature on the battlefield, so opponent going to keep just the Edgar in play, so that'll be 4 damage to everything else. Means Rageforger will also stick. No, means Rageforger won't. God, I can't count. So opponent sacrifices their... So, yeah, it'll be 5 damage each creature. Things are looking good for Chandra to survive, although I suppose White off the top and Kenrith could haste itself. Swing into the Chandra. Solemn Simulacrum will die. Opponent will get to draw a card. Ooh, that's a Heartstone. Yeah. Activated abilities of creatures cost 1 less to activate. This effect can't reduce it to less than 1. Spell shock down to 8. So if we play the Dockside Extortionist right now, we'd be getting 3 mana. It's not terrible. That's a Neheb. Neheb is a card. I think our commander is going to be 6 now. Yeah, commander is 6. Commander Mana Barbs? Probably the plan. Do need to tap the Spires to do it, though. Wow, we really, really can't draw lands. Unless, Dockside nets us a mana, so maybe we're going Dockside Extortionist. Okay, opponent's got other plans. They're going to mana drain on us. All right. So we're going to go Dockside Extortionist. Spell shock ourselves again. We're down to 23. Oof. Get ourselves some treasures. Lay down the Mana Barbs. And more importantly, leave that Spires up so that Edgar Markov not come in our direction. We go down to 21. Gonna have to start thinking about that Warhammer. Oh, I forgot to put the boots on the Dockside. Make sure it doesn't get stolen or shot or anything. Whoops. I F6'd too quickly. Opponent tapping mana. Here comes the Mana Barbs. Edgar Markov at the highest life total currently. So Spell Shock, Edgar Markov, and Vampire Cutthroat coming into play. Lifelink. Lifelink is huge right now. Opponent tapping more mana, losing more life. Vampire Conquistador, yep. Spell Shock, Edgar Markov, and a Scry trigger. Edgar Markov our way. Shared Animosity and put a counter on everything. Yeah. We are going to use the Spires on the Edgar Markov. Mana Drain trigger for the Will and Rowan opponent. They can get some work done with that. Spell Shock still looming, though. Should keep them from going too wild, but... Ooh, that's an Aetherflux Reservoir. That one gains some life back. All right. Drop them down to 12, though. Want to tapping some stuff into the Mana Barbs. Divining Top. Ooh, that's a really painful Divining Top. Aetherflux will trigger. Opponent activates the Divining Top, loses 1 to the Mana Barbs. Ooh, Rings of Bright Hearth, bunch of Mana Barbs trigger, Spell Shock, and an Aetherflux Reservoir trigger. Opponent's down to 8. Chaotix tapping up a bunch of mana. Makes me sad because we don't have the Spine Rock Knoll untapped and ready to go. Chaotix is going to play Feast of the Fallen. At the beginning of each upkeep, if an opponent lost life last turn, put a counter on a creature you control. Yeah, that'd be pretty good. I think the Spell Shock is going to kill him. Yep, Spell Shock takes him down. So he got into a bad spot, losing a lot of life to the vampires. And then once the Spell Shock and the Mana Barbs come in, can't really do much after that. Now, we're not in the greatest spot either. Vampires have a lot of damage on board, and we don't have, like, great answers for that in our hand. I guess we could Chaos Warp something, block one, and Spires something else. Oh, Furnace of Wrath? Yeah, that's not at all what we needed. Alright, so we have a lot of choices right here, and none of them make me, like, the most excited. I guess if we can squeeze off 7 damage on Will and Rowan, then we can fire the Spine Rock Knoll. If we use the plus mode on Chandra, that would get 2 damage to each opponent. And if we played Neheb, we have to hope that no one has removal if we do this. So we could plus Chandra, get 2 damage on each opponent, play Neheb, and then attack. That would get 5 damage into Will and Rowan with the boots. And then in the second main phase, that would be 7 total damage. Actually, 8 with the Dockside. We'd probably leave the Dockside back, though. So, okay, yeah, so 7 damage with Neheb and the plus on the Chandra. And then that would get us 7 plus 2 is 9 red mana in our second main. We could then in our second main, we could Chain Reaction, blow up all the vampires. No sack outlet in play for the vampires this time. There'd be exactly 7 creatures in play. Should be enough to get everything, assuming no interaction from our opponents. And then we'd have a little bit of mana left over to get something else into play. Okay, think we've got a plan. Plus Chandra. Sun Droplet, you say? Oh. Well, unfortunately we can't cast that, because we do need the damage. 2 damage each opponent. Ooh, Mana Barbs! Mana Barbs is a card. Play Neheb. Get hit by our own Mana Barbs and Spell Shock a bunch of times. Whew. Maybe we could have used the Sun Droplet. Down to 14. It's pretty low. It's pretty low. Oh, I think we do need it. Yeah, we do need to attack with the Dockside. Okay, that's only 4. Thought it was 5. Whoops. Attack with both of these. Opponent goes to 1. Well, can't do much now. Go to our second main. Get 9 red mana. That is super helpful. Get the mana. Use the Spine Rock Knoll. Play the Chain Reaction. Spell Shock on us. All the creatures getting blown up. Yeah. I mean, I think it's got to be like Commander and Luxodon Warhammer. How much is our Commander now? Whew. Cast our Commander. Comes in. Can't even put the boots on it because we need to make sure we can get the Warhammer in. And also it's got Shroud, so we don't want to Shroud our Commander. We've already activated that. This is going to be a close one. I think we're going to go to 2. Actually, we can get mana off of the Chandra. That won't burn us. So that seems important. And, ooh, Mana Barbs is going to do 3 now. So even the vampire opponent, I don't think they can recast much. There's a Mana Barbs trigger. Down to 15. Another trigger. I mean, it has to be a removal. Ooh, it's a City of Brass. City of Brass plus Mana Barbs plus the Torbran. Yeah. Opponent's life total getting down there. Opponent down to 5. Down to 2. I mean, now if they cast something, they just died of Spell Shock. Are they just suiciding? I can't tell. I think they're suiciding. Yep, opponent just going to go down on their own terms. All right. I can't imagine Will and Kenrith have anything right here. They need to generate mana without tapping lands. They don't really have anything to do that. And there's a Mana Barb trigger on opponent. Got there. Nice. Oh, yeah. That was close. That ended up being much closer than I thought it was going to be. Whew. So we were lucky that Chaotix took most of the hit from the vampire opponent. They really didn't like their stuff being stolen. And then by the time that people figured out they really needed to focus us, we had gotten enough things in play that we were able to protect ourselves, get that damage that we needed into opponents, and kind of just lock them out from being able to do anything. Mana Barbs is a funny card when you get damage doubling or like this Torbran type of effect. So yeah, we did benefit from the fact that we didn't take super amounts of aggro, but again, we also had that Solemn Simulacrum in play that just kept things away in the early game, kept us in the 30s, and then we were able to flip the Compass over, which stopped a decent amount of damage as well. That stuff matters. Those early plays like that keep you from taking chip damage early in the game can matter. Now, I would expect that if you're playing this deck, you are probably going to get focused a lot, but it also depends on what the rest of your play group looks like. So As someone who's played a lot of aggro decks, like especially if I'm playing Boros, if I see a Perforos or if I see something like a Torbran at the table, I'm not necessarily going after them first because I know that they're going to make everyone else's life total really low, which is actually good for me as the aggro deck. I just have to make sure that I don't die myself, so I need to find whatever my life gain thing is to prevent myself from dying. Maybe fire some removal at key times just to make sure that you don't die yourself, but I don't necessarily focus the red do damage to everyone at the same time opponent first because I know it's good for me as an aggro deck. I know it'll keep the combo decks from winning. And, there's interesting things in here. So if opponents run infinite combos, things like Spell Shock and things like Mana Barbs are going to create real nightmares for them that they have to answer. If they don't answer these, you will have a really hard time pulling off infinite combos with that stuff in play. So, it creates things that must be answered. And even without your commander in play, these things still just do damage. They do work, and they're still very effective. When your commander comes in play, then, opponents almost can't do anything. They just die the second they try to cast anything. So, a lot of interesting ramifications about playing a deck like this. It hates on a lot of things that I don't particularly care for. The other thing it does too, if you don't like long games, playing a deck like this is going to put some sort of ceiling on how long the game's going to go. Like if everyone's losing life rapidly, the game's only going to go so long. That game was about 9 turns, I think. If there's a little bit more removal in the game, sure, maybe the game goes a few extra turns, but still, just the fact that everyone's just losing life from doing stuff is going to keep the game from going, in paper, 3 hours. You know what I mean? You're not going to run into those 2 or 3 hour games because people just die. They just run out of life. And, anyone who's got creatures in play, especially creatures with lifelink, are going to just be able to take everyone else down super quickly. So yeah, a lot of interesting things to think about when you're playing a commander like this. Again, you got to protect yourself a little bit. We were fortunate not to get hated on too much right there. But I think it's also interesting too because it actually rewards someone for playing white because white's going to have the most life gain. It's going to have some creatures with lifelink. It's also going to have good removal to be able to deal with Mana Barbs and Spell Shock and stuff like that. The other colors don't necessarily have great ways or a lot of ways to deal with those things. As a white deck now, I'll run Austere Command. I try to run Hour of Revelation if I don't have a lot of artifacts that I'm trying to protect. And I'll also run Wear Tear, Crush Contraband, Return to Dust. And I'll try to have at least 4 to 5 cards that deal with artifacts and enchantments. And as a white player, you're going to just have more ways to interact with that stuff than as a mono black player or, green runs some number of those things, but they don't run tons and tons of it. They usually have their Reclamation Sage and their Croson Grip, but they save it for a really key thing. So yeah, in a weird way, white is probably the best color against a strategy like this. But a deck like this is going to be super effective against a blue deck that doesn't put things in play, and a black deck that wants to burn all of their life drawing cards and doing other stuff. So, yeah, Torbran creates a little bit of havoc at the table. Just a fun little thing. As far as my particular build of the deck, I didn't go super hard in any one direction. We've got some planeswalkers, we've got some creatures, we've got some of these punishment type effects with Mana Barbs. I didn't completely commit to just saying oh, let's go punishment, oh, let's go creatures, let's go planeswalkers. Just kind of a little mix of the three. And I'm sure there's certainly some things I could do to refine the deck a bit. All in all, I thought the mana curve came out pretty good. You see 13 3-drops, 13 4-drops, and then we taper off as we go up the curve. Now, one thing with this deck, if you slam a Cage Sun or a Gauntlet of Power, you could probably add 1, maybe 2 big cards at the top here. But we've also got some X spells too, so maybe it's fine the way it is. But yeah, anyway, we got a fun little look at Torbran and mono red burn stuff to death. So hope you guys enjoyed the video. As always, feel free to comment, like, or subscribe. Thank you for watching.